Please like and subscribe to the Couch and the Rube YouTube channel. Also download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Wednesday show presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. That's just north of Frandor near the Lansing-East Lansing border on East Saginaw. And if you want to have a private party at Cask & Company or Front 43, you can do that. Just call, ask for the private room, and have the whole menu, everything you could want from Cask & Company and Front 43 for your group, your outing, whatever it might be. Maybe you just want to sit alone in a room, do some work, drink some wine, have a Big Island Bowl, which is one of my favorite dishes from Front 43 and Cask & Company. You can do that. Or if you just want to have a date night, go to caskandcompany.com, make a reservation today. Highly recommend doing that Thursday through the weekend as well. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Let's go green, go God.
The urinal or portal.
I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit.
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
I'm good.
Something that just happened here at Spotlight. You know, we have a public bathroom here.
Yeah.
There was a guy. Have you ever had a phone call that is so important that you're in a public shitter and you still are on the phone call? Like, I went to just use the urinal there, and there's a guy in the stall, and he's on a phone call, like a business call. Like, while I'm peeing, I'm like, what is going on here, dude? What is so important? You can't even take 5 minutes just to drop some heat. You got to actually stay on the phone call. Like, have you ever had an important, like, Izzo? If Izzo called you and you were on the toilet, you felt like you would have to answer it? It's wild. What's wrong with people?
I was at a community college women's basketball game last night, and Izzo actually did call, and I missed it, and I didn't. I'm covering a game.
Yeah, but were you on the shitter?
I was not. But what I'm saying
that's what I mean. Well, all right.
It wouldn't be if it wasn't big enough for me to pick up during another basketball game I was covering. I probably wouldn't pick it up on the shitter in a public restaurant.
Right.
It's got to be big.
People are so different than me. I get in, get out. I don't want to be in there longer than I have to. I try to just be quiet. You know what I mean? Like, and these people are just dumping away, going like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to do my business on both sides here on the phone. And anyway, what's up, man?
Yeah.
I just find that people are fascinating, dude. I just wish I had that mentality just to not care. I got to have like my earbuds in, like the noise cancellation thing. Like, I bring them with me if I go on a road. Like, if I have to use a public bathroom, if I put the noise canceling earbuds in, it gives me like a sense of relief. But I would never take a phone call. That would be wild. And then someone on the other end found out you were on the toilet.
That's the problem.
You know what I mean?
It's the double whammy. It's the potential for embarrassment.
Obviously, this guy's not embarrassed by much, but now I'm everyone that walks out, I'm like, is that the dude right there? Is that him? No. All right. Anyway, what are we talking about? What's going on today?
I think we've got a good show. It's about time. We're going to talk some Michigan State basketball here off the top and some Big Ten hoops. It is also, I think, about time that we had our friend Omari Sankofa from the Detroit Free Press on to talk Pistons.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. They played San Antonio the other night. A little bit of a freak out on that we'll get into in a bit. They play Oklahoma City. By the time a lot of people listen to this show, that game may or may not happen.
Great game.
Unbelievable. Took down the Thunder, all that. So we're going to have that conversation shortly. We're going to talk some Lions. I think there's some interesting things happening with where they're playing next year, some offensive line news.
Only 830 days till the NFL season starts. What a grind.
So we'll get into all that.
That's the taint.
Shortly. Let's talk some MSU hoops here off the top.
When are you heading out?
What's today? Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday.
Thursday morning. Thursday about noon. Yeah.
Nice drive.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not bad. West Lafayette's doable. Some people are staying on the road. I am coming back between games. They play Indiana on Sunday. Want to see the wife, I just love my wife.
Wow. Does she want to see you? That's the question.
I think so. Well, I'm actually picking her up on the way back from, she's in Chicago right now.
So there's a need for you to.
She could have taken a different way, but I do not want her driving right now in this time of year.
Oh, because women can't drive? Is that what you're trying to say?
Did not say that. This isn't like this is not a lady driver thing. This is I don't like that stretch from basically when you cross the Michigan border to Kalamazoo on 94. You don't know what the weather's going to be. I do not think humans should be driving on it in the winter. I think we ought to have high-speed rail. We've talked about this. I just don't.
So you're worried about the weather?
I'm worried. When we had to make the decision on how we were going to do this, the traffic's it's the road. That road should be closed from December through February to me. And so I would rather pick her up.
So if she were a male, you would be totally okay with her driving on that stretch. It's that she's a female because you brought it up.
It's that I love her. Is it?
Oh,
if it was somebody I didn't care about, they could.
Is it a bad part of an area?
Have you ever been there?
No, I've not. But
okay, don't do it. So it's the lake effect snow.
Oh,
I drove it the other day. It's like nothing else. You're in Illinois. It's like, I don't know if it's sunny because it's a gray day, but it's fine. The roads are great.
I see.
You cross the Michigan border. It's like black ice. It's like blowing snow. You get past Kalamazoo. It's fine again. It's this stretch that we have to, we can't put a dome on it, so we ought to have high speed rails because it's what I said the other day is I don't think we wouldn't do. There are a lot of things in life that I think are less dangerous than that we don't do, and I think driving on that particular stretch of road in the winter should be something we should find another way around. Anyway, so I'm going to pick her up, and I'm coming back. But anyway, this game at Purdue is I think it's really important for a couple reasons. One, if they lose this game, they're not going to get a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're not going to get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. You can see that when you just start to look at the tiebreakers, because and who's ahead of them and the seed projections. Because when you look at the NCAA tournament top 16 reveal that they had, and who's a 3 seed right now: Florida, Kansas, Nebraska, Gonzaga. Purdue's a 2 seed, and Michigan State's a 4. And so to get up there, you're going to have to beat people in front of you, and you really got 2 opportunities. You've got Purdue and Michigan. And so if they don't beat Purdue, they have to win at Michigan to get up to a 3 seed, I think. But they also, if you want to be a double bye in the Big Ten tournament, and depending on draw, it may not hurt you to be down as like a 6 seed or whatever. But if you lose to Purdue, not only are you a game back of them, but they have the tiebreaker. Nebraska, who will probably be a game up on you at that point, also has the tiebreaker. Wisconsin, who you'll be tied with, also has the tiebreaker. So you're just the idea that you would get up into the realm where you're a top 4 seed. Now, Illinois has a game at Michigan. They've got 4 losses as well. Who knows? You do have that tiebreaker. But it seems very unlikely that you're getting a double bye. And then you're talking 4 games in 4 days of the Big Ten tournament, which can be done. Michigan did it a few years ago. Other teams have done it. But usually your legs leave you. And I remember, I think it was Wisconsin last year who, I'm blanking on it a little bit, but often when you have the great shooting day or you have 2 real good shooting days, eventually your legs leave you. And the 4 games in 4 days is really hard to do. It's really hard to have legs for that 4th day. And then you've not won a Big Ten tournament title, and you've just put 4 days and 4 games and 4 days of mileage on yourself, and you may have a game 3 days later out west or something like that. So I'm not saying you're
So if they lose, Denham Wojcik gets a lot of minutes in the Big Ten tournament, is what you're saying.
They're not going to do that. I'm just saying it's not helpful. The Big Ten tournament becomes unhelpful, becomes unlikely to win, which is already a little unlikely to win, but it becomes even more unlikely to win, and it becomes much less helpful, especially for something that we've already seen doesn't help you in terms of seeding in the NCAA tournament as much as you might think or that you would like. And so this game against Purdue is if you beat Purdue, a team that's right now seen as a 2 seed, and you beat them at Mackey Arena, that's a major win. That's one of the better wins in college basketball, and that will have serious weight. And if you beat Indiana then on the road, and you take care of business at home against Rutgers, you might not have to beat Michigan. You might just have to win a game in the Big Ten tournament to be in that conversation for a 3 seed. I don't know exactly how that'll play out, who they could pass in front of them, and some other things can happen. Somebody else can really fall off. But for some of the things that we think might be important still to this season, path to the Final Four, and realistic amount of games to get to the Big Ten championship, tournament championship. Geez, I slipped there. The actual Big Ten championship's already been decided.
Big Ten plus his ass.
This is an important game, and it's at a place too where when I think of home court advantage in the Big Ten, I think most of us think about Mackey Arena, right? We think of this venue as the epitome of home court advantage. And, I look around like Michigan State's recent history there, and like Illinois, which I think has a great home court. Michigan State's had good success there. Wisconsin, I know it didn't happen this year, but Michigan State's had success there, places with really good home courts. Purdue has been harder, and it's not something that's been forever. Back when Michigan State had Brandon Dawson, they were winning all the time there, and they just had a better team, and they also had a dominating player who was always motivated to play Purdue, and for several reasons. But the thing about home road is it's all about what it does to energy, right? And you see this in college basketball. You see it in soccer more than other sports, because the home crowd at a place with a real advantage lifts the home team slightly. It creates the illusion of momentum. It can be demoralizing to the road team. You got to be tough. It affects the officials. It's all energy. It's all the energy in the building. And I think college basketball and soccer are the two sports where it matters the most. Football, because there are only 12 games in college and 16 games in the NFL, it matters, but you're all in on every possession everywhere. Everybody's sort of at the same energy level. I think that's different. I think college basketball, meeting the energy is what matters, unless you have truly dominant talent. And Michigan State doesn't have that against Purdue. This is a matchup I don't hate for them. But I think that this is overcoming energy is the hardest thing about a place like Mackey. And if you're a fairly even team with Purdue, and there are some things I like about Purdue. I like Purdue shooting more. I don't love Purdue in the paint. I don't think Trey Kaufman-Wren's had a very good year. I know he's had a bit of a hip injury. His scoring's down 7 points a game.
He was good against Indiana.
He was great against Indiana.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a challenge. And they've had some success last year against Braden Smith when they forced 6 turnovers and they really dug down on him and bothered him, and that was a great defensive approach. But again, you had Breslin Center energy, right? And you saw what that did to Purdue. Purdue did not have great body language and great energy, and Braden Smith did not by the end of that game, and you're not going to have that advantage at Purdue. So this is, to me, the epitome of what home court advantage is in college basketball. Mackey, to me, is worth 8 to 10 points every single game, and so you've got to be that much better than somebody. Yeah, I think it's – so if you win this game –
8 to 10.
If you win this game, it says a lot about what you're able to overcome. It says a lot about your potential. And it also puts you in line still, I think, for a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament and maybe a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. And if you don't get it, it doesn't mean your dreams are dashed. You could lose a close game at Purdue, and it's like that happens. But it takes away a couple things, and you've still got to maybe prove that you can overcome.
You really believe that, though? 8 to 10 points?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think one of the great and not every arena is the same, obviously. Penn State is not the same, right?
Well, you have to have fans that show up.
Well, yeah, Chrysler. Chrysler's had some good atmospheres this year, but historically, traditionally, Chrysler's not a great home court advantage, right? The nickname is the library, right? It's for a reason, and they've been good, and people are fired up, but it's worth a lot. I think that's one place Vegas can't quite quantify accurately the advantage. You get 3 to 4 points for being home, and I think a place like Mackey is worth a lot more than that. And we've just seen it over time. See, Breslin is too. Breslin, you get way more blowouts. Illinois can be.
Well, what do you think Breslin is then? If Mackey's 8 to 10 points,
it's in that range.
Really?
Yeah, I think Breslin's right there with Mackey. The best of Breslin is right there with Mackey for sure. It really is.
I'm just shocked by the 8 to 10 points either way for Mackey and Breslin. I just think that's so many of.
It's an enormous
to
advantage.
Affect the spread in your estimation.
To the point where if I were a coach taking a job, I would really consider that, because I think it's an extra 3 to 4 wins a year if you're at one of those places that has that advantage.
Yeah, see, I can believe that because, the basketball crowd is more on top of you. You mentioned the football atmosphere where the fans are kind of a little more ways away in the stands there. But, yeah, basketball definitely has one of the tougher kind of home court advantages, but the 8 to 10 points on a spread is kind of wild. So.
Yeah, no, you just feel it. You feel the momentum. You've just seen so many games, Purdue, Michigan State games, when they used to play twice a year. It used to be easier to measure, really, when they played twice a year, because when you played twice a year, you'd see home road, and sometimes one team would win by 15 one place, and the other team would win by 25 the other place. And it was worth. There were a couple of years it was worth like 40 points, because the only difference was the venue, and that was Breslin and Mackey, and not 40 points relative to a neutral site, but 40 points relative to the other venue. And when those two play each other, it's really pronounced. Michigan State struggles in Bloomington, not because Indiana's been great. Indiana's had some matchups that have bothered them at certain times over the years. But that is a really hard crowd on a Sunday afternoon in early March, and has been traditionally, and they'll have to face that this weekend. These will be two of the. If they get out of this with 2 wins, I will be super impressed. It'll be so impressive. Even Eric Schultz will be impressed with Michigan State if Izzo if they pull this off. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we will talk with Omari Sankofa on the Pistons, and then we'll do some Lions and some other stuff in a little bit. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask and Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask and Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Please like and subscribe to the Couch in the Rube YouTube channel. Also download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
Couch in the Rube, our Wednesday show, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen Bar. That's just north of Frandor, near the Lansing-East Lansing border. Outstanding place for a date night to catch some games. You want to catch the Michigan State game against Purdue, the game against Indiana on Sunday, MSU hockey, whatever it might be. Front 43 and Cask and Company. Very pleased now to be joined by somebody who is become the voice of Pistons coverage. And a go-to read for me, Omari Sankofa from the Detroit Free Press, and very happy for you to be covering this sort of season. I know it's not the first year like this, but you covered some tough years, man.
Hey, yeah. First, thanks for having me, and it's honestly pretty surreal to go through this from just 2 years ago. Still not that far removed from 28 straight losses and 14 wins. It's just been a night and day 3 years. I don't know if there's ever been such contrast in just 3 years as I've been going through this year. But it's been fun, and we'll see where it ends up.
All right, well, let's start here. We don't know exactly what the Pistons' ceiling is, but they've risen to the point of best record in the NBA. They're right there with Oklahoma City, who they play this evening. We're obviously talking on Wednesday, so if you're listening after that game would have happened. And they lose to San Antonio, another team that's in that conversation of dark horse contender. I think they're probably even though their record's not quite there, the Pistons of the West in terms of people thinking, could this team do it? What do you think the Pistons' actual ceiling is right now, and how much more do you still need to learn to know?
I think it's fair to say at this point that their ceiling is that of a finals team. They've been firmly in control of the East pretty much the entire season. 4.5 games up on the second place Boston Celtics. But they've beat top 10 teams, top 5 teams. Obviously, the Spurs game a couple of days ago was an exception, but they played high-level competition pretty well. And they sustained the league's top-ranked defense, essentially since the end of November or the beginning of December. So just from a sustainability standpoint, they've shown that they can do it. We still have 25 games left, but they've done it for 2/3 of the season now. I don't know which team in the East, could certainly beat them in 7 games. We'll learn a lot about Cleveland over the next couple of weeks. Now that they have James Harden, they've been playing well. But the Pistons have shown that they can beat anybody in the Eastern Conference. So I would say that it's fair to say that this is a team that can make the finals run. Now, can they overcome the West? That's TBD. But I do believe that they can come out of the East.
All right, before we go to the West, like the East, Knicks, Cavs, Celtics. And is there anybody else? Well, first of all, is there anybody else outside of that group that you think could take out the Pistons in a 7-game series when sort of maybe, the offensive limitations that people fear about them, are something somebody can hone in on game after game? Is there anybody outside of those 3 that you look at and go, that's dangerous, an Orlando team or anything like that?
No, the only team that I think could have a chance is Orlando, just because they have a pretty good bench. Obviously, Paolo and Franz, 2 guys who can go get you a bucket. They're also one of the better defensive teams in the league. They've underachieved this season compared to expectations, but you could never rule out a late season run. They have everything, it seems, that they need to quick, but that would be the only other team that I could see emerging. The rest of the East is just solid. You've got Atlanta, you've got Toronto. I think Milwaukee is hanging in there a bit. And obviously, you would have to fear Giannis, but outside of him, they probably have 5 or 6 guys that would even see the floor for the average playoff team. So at this point, it looks like more than likely you're looking at Boston, New York, Cleveland being the teams that you're going to face in the second and third round.
And of those, is there any, but like, which of those should they be most concerned about? I know, New York lost the regular season battle to them last year and then beat them in a competitive series. But they've really, they want New York. They've hammered New York. Cleveland, with the James Harden acquisition, is a little different. From a talent pound for pound standpoint, is intriguing too. And obviously Tatum may come back with Boston, which could change them to some degree. Of those 3, who would you fear most if you're the Pistons?
I would go with Boston. I think the degree that they shoot 3-pointers, they're one of the most prolific 3-point shooting teams in the league, and I think that's a big reason why they've sustained contention status even with Tatum being out. Is that they get a lot of threes up, and they've got guys that can hit them. And the Pistons, being more of a defense-first team, they don't take a lot of threes. And then the ones they take, they only make at about an average clip. So if you're just playing the math game over a 7-game series, how many hot stretches from Boston could they sustain if they do get into that groove? We've seen it happen this season. I think they split that season series 1-1 so far. Then Jaylen Brown, obviously, having an MVP caliber season. Like outside of Cade, I think him, Giannis, Jaylen Brown, like those are probably the guys who have been the best in the conference. You could probably put Brunson in there too. So it's really just Boston's play style, I think, that contrasts the Pistons. And, once you get to games, if they're hitting 16, 17 threes, I just think mathematically it becomes a lot tougher for the Pistons to stick into those types of games. You can make an argument for Cleveland too, but Boston's also got a bit more size that they can throw at Cade. And, Cleveland, they've got the 2 bigs, but I don't think any of their guards and wings can really do anything with Cade. So I think Boston is just the most well-rounded of those 3.
Yeah, it seems like Cade is there now, where he's like, top 5, top 7 guy in the league, regardless of any year. And there's I don't know, he's better than I thought he would be because there's more to him. Like there's a quickness to him that for a guy his size, and there's, I don't know, it's been impressive. One of the guys who may win the MVP this year. It was up there with Cade. And first of all, do you think Cade's MVP numbers, I hope people got it early, because Cade's MVP numbers I've seen is like plus 250 at this point. Do you think he legitimately behind SGA is the next guy at this point?
To me, Cade's got to be top three. SGA, he's missed some games, but obviously he's having another phenomenal season. But it's just the totality of everything Cade brings you. People knock the efficiency, and he's not quite a Jokic SGA level scorer, but he's second in the league in assists, like absolutely one of the best playmakers in the league. Defensively, I think he's one of the better guards in the league, even with his offensive role. Like you've seen him shut down guys. The block and steals numbers are really good. He had 3 blocks the other night. He's got like 4 or 5 games this season with at least 3, which is crazy for a 6'6" guard. And then obviously he's the best player on comfortably the best team in the East, and what's been the first or second best team in the league over the last couple of weeks. So his resume is strong. It seems like he's still kind of lagging behind some of those guys. Like I've seen some people argue for Luka over him, but between the Pistons' record and just the totality of his game, I mean, he's got to be in that top 3 or 4.
Yeah, one of the things that stinks about tonight's game against Oklahoma City is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be out with an abdominal strain, so you're not going to see the MVP versus MVP. We're not going to have a true sense of who they are against OKC, and that's one of the downsides of the NBA. Now, this is a legitimate injury with SGA, but it's one of the downsides of the NBA. You just don't get a lot of games where you see sort of mano a mano who teams can be at during the regular season. Just because of the injuries, because of the rest, because of all that stuff. And so, I don't know how much we'll actually be able to take from this. I think the Pistons at this point have proven themselves enough that there's no individual game that you have to look at and go, oh, that's a problem. But when they played the Spurs the other night, was there anything we haven't really talked about the West? Like, you say their ceiling's a finals team. Is that because we just think there are better teams in the West for sure, or you look at some of those matchups and go, I don't know how they deal with a healthy Denver, a healthy OKC, and then we see what could be the situation against San Antonio?
Yeah, I think some of that is what we saw in that San Antonio game, where in the playoffs, defense wins you games, but sometimes it just comes down to who can get you a bucket as well. And outside of Cade, the Pistons don't really have that guy. Duran can be that guy, but has he shown that he could be the number 2 in a playoff type series where you just give him the ball and he can engineer something? He hasn't quite shown that yet. I think you couple that with, just the fact that the Spurs, for example, have Wemby. I don't know if there's another team in the West that is as bad of a matchup for the Pistons as the Spurs, given that they've got about 5 wings. Like Stephon Castle did a great job the other night. Keldon Johnson had his turns and did a good job. They've got this big physical 6'6", 6'7" dudes that can match with Cade physically. And then you've got Wemby at the rim, and it just creates a suffocating environment. And the Pistons, they fouled 3-point attempts. They didn't want to attack inside because of Wemby, and they only went 7 for 36. So they kind of revealed their weakness as a 3-point shooting team. So for me, that has more to do with really the Spurs, and perhaps we could put OKC in there, just being the defending champ. And they still have to play OKC twice, obviously, tonight. And, then at the end of March, so maybe we can add them to that group. But the Spurs pose some real matchup issues, and in a 7-game series, you just wonder, can they knock down enough threes? And if they're wearing Cade down, where does that scoring come from? Because as we saw Monday, the scoring just doesn't come. The game kind of got away from them in that fourth quarter, but they just couldn't engineer anything in half court or in transition.
So I love that the Pistons didn't do anything at the trade deadline, because I want to see this team play out. I want to see them hit their ceiling, if there is a ceiling, or I want to see what the flaws are in a 7-game series against certain teams, or if they can overcome them, and what it all looks like before they make decisions. Obviously, this summer, Cade Cunningham's under a long-term contract. Jalen Duren is up, and he's legitimately going to get paid. They're also in an era of the second apron now, though, where you really can't have 3 max dudes. If you do, you got nothing else. And so if they don't have the secondary scorer they need yet, or the guy who can get you buckets, and those are their 2 guys that they're paying, and I agree at this point you pay Duren. Like, what still has to happen if the goal is to win a championship? There's got to be some more moves on the roster. They're going to have to probably part with a big piece in a trade or something to get somewhere. What do you think? I mean, first of all, do you think they have to pay Jalen, right? There's no question they're going to do that. You agree?
Yeah, they have to pay Jalen. He's just been too important to their success. His chemistry with Cade just makes Cade's life so much easier on offense. So I think you do have to keep him.
So what do you do then if Cade and Jalen are 2 guys who are making, if not both max, they're not old enough to be making the super max stuff yet, but they're both making, substantial money, and you still need a piece, and a substantial piece around a lot of really good role players and other good players. You don't want to part with Asar Thompson, right? They're guys you just don't want to lose. What do they still need, and how do they get it?
Yeah, if you want that number 2 guy, which pretty much every other team that's a contender has, whether it's Wemby and Fox or Harden and Mitchell, whoever it may be, the Pistons on paper are going to need that guy. You mentioned their decision at the deadline to kind of just keep the group that they have together, which just from a building a team sustainability standpoint makes sense. But, I think with that, you've got these guys who are going to make max money or close to it. I think if you're a front office, you hope you can feel that organically and maybe don't have to gut your roster depth to go out and get it. Can Duren become that? TBD. He's 22. He's still growing. But, we're in an era where, the scoring is dominated a bit more so by wings and guards, unless you're a guy like a Jokic or a Giannis and just that type of, outlier. And we're not sure if Duren is that yet. Asar is next up. Can Asar develop that offensive part of his game? If he's sniffing max money, I don't know if he's a guy that's going to sniff a max this summer. But the books do fill up pretty quickly here. And if you're not getting that from Cade, you're not getting that from Duren or your third guy, then logic says that at some point you have to consolidate and go out and find that person. You've got some buyers coming off the books this summer. You'll have some tradable salary in the future. So maybe you could package, something around, like let's say next summer you've got Karras and Duncan on expiring deals. You'll have some methods to go out and try to find that guy. But when you're a team as young as them, I still think you hang on to hope that you can get that internally and not have to sacrifice too much and go get it. But with that, they also have all their future first-round picks, which gives them some more trade ammo if they do want to go out there. So they'll have a few different paths they can pursue, and I think this playoff run will really help highlight what path they need to pursue and where and what area they need to address directly if they want to truly solidify this team as a championship contender.
Omari, I appreciate you, man. Love reading your stuff, and we'll continue to do so. Hope it's I know not every writer wants to work deep into June, but I think everybody here and around is hoping you're working hard pretty much to July 4th. So appreciate you, man, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, appreciate you, Graham. Thank you.
It's Omari Sankofa from the Detroit Free Press. Does a really, really nice job there.
And sports writers don't want to work at all.
Well,
God bless you, Godspeed, to have to work all that way.
I just remember when I first got sort of my break covering some statewide stuff, I was helping out on the Red Wings beat in like the late 2000s when they were their last run, 2008, 2009 Stanley Cup runs for Booth Newspapers, which is now I'm Live. And they would take me off. I was at the Kalamazoo Gazette, and they'd put me on state. I would help with the Red Wings in the playoffs and go on the road and all that stuff. But for me, it was fun. It was like, all right, sweet, something different. I'm doing this for a couple weeks. This is great. And you'd look at the Red Wings had been so good for so long. You'd look at the writers who covered a team like that, and every year their season just went till like late June, and those guys looked so haggard. They looked awful. They looked like they were on death's door. And
I think if they worked 3 months out of the year, they'd still look haggard, though.
Well, that's because they're haggard people.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But you ultimately want a balance. Like every 2 or 3 years, you want if I'm just saying, if you're not.
I feel like you'd want your team that you're covering to be great at all times so people read your shit.
You want them to be relevant. Yeah. You want them to be relevant. No, I have a buddy who's in the exact opposite standpoint. My buddy Scott Powers covers the Blackhawks for The Athletic. And they have great readership. I mean, they have two
Blackhawks fans watch no matter what the record is, though.
They have great readership. They have 2 full-time writers on that beat, and and he's gotten
Same
new
for
contracts.
The Red Wings, right?
Yeah, I mean it's, and so I'm not saying you need that to have the readership, but at some point you want them to be back in the playoffs and making runs and having those sort of discussions. Partly because you get sick of covering the same draft pick hope stuff.
For the Pistons for so long, and it's nice to be able to. It's appointment 100%. Television, and that's why it makes me laugh with, a Spurs, a loss versus a really good Spurs team with a 7'9" giraffe in the middle, which is almost impossible because that guy there's never a goaltending call. So I mean, it just amazed me that like, oh, poor shooting woes against the Spurs, and then you look at the stats and it's just like that is the worst shooting performance since October. That's the last time they had a shooting performance like that. We're talking about not paying Jalen Duren. I mean, what are we talking? I mean, give him a super max. Give him what he needs. This is ridiculous. I mean, you look at this roster. I can understand people being frustrated by not making moves at the deadline, but I think that's the Tigers and the Lions creeping in of people are just getting sick and tired of standing pat. But to only get Herter out of the deal, who knows what's going to happen with him? But you don't. I mean, Tobias Harris is your third leading scorer. Right?
Well, and Tobias is not part of the long-term plan. I think he's been a good stopgap. He's a great, it's great that he's coming off the books. Yeah,
he's a solid veteran. He's playing really well, by the way, too.
He is, and it'll be an important part of this run, and it'll be him coming off the books will be an important part of their flexibility. I like that they didn't do anything because I like what Omari said there. Like this year will be telling. Like you want to let this team sort of tell you themselves. You don't know what they don't have. Like. Everybody thought coming into this year, well, the Knicks are the best team in the East, and every time the Pistons play the Knicks, they beat the shit out of them, right? So, like, you just don't know what you don't know, and we thought with the Pistons in 2004 when they played the Lakers, it was like, there's no way they're going to beat Kobe and Shaq, and then it was what they call the 5-game sweep to this day, like it was dominant, and so you just don't know. You got to let this team play it out.
I don't know who was saying that. I was confident against the Lakers, but
I was not.
No,
but you were.
But the Lakers were
on
disarray.
All sorts of substances back then. Who knows?
That is true. But I could see through the Lakers, and I hated the Lakers with a passion anyway. But Kobe
and Duren's a keeper for sure. I'm just it's different than it used to be. Fewer teams have the 3 max guys. That's not the way to build a team. And so you got to make sure your 2 are legit, or you got to have the right type of pieces around them. Like Indiana,
but you consider Jalen Duren to be legit. I mean, you draft these guys for this reason, for them to become what they are currently. Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren are what, when you drafted them, they are coming together to prove to you what they are. And who's the third max guy on this team? There isn't one right now.
No, and you don't want one because you don't want to have
Oscar Thompson. If he asked for a max, I would laugh my dick off and tell him, like, all right, see you later. You just got benched for Ron Holland, who I love. And I'm not saying Oscar Thompson you're giving up on, but we throw this max thing out. And
it's with all there are a lot of guys. It used to be a certain level player, like Dennis Schroeder, who was on the team last year. One of the last guys of his level. He got like 20 million or whatever from, was it Sacramento or whatever. Like, I'm glad the Pistons didn't pay him as much as he helped them down the stretch. Like, that guy used to get that contract. Under the new second apron, you can't afford to give that guy that contract. And it's going to be harsher for a lot of players, and it's going to be one of those things where you got to try to find a way not to hurt feelings but be real with guys. And I think that's one of the things that happened with Jaden Ivey is, he has not played like he's not been the same player. He's talked about that. It's really sad.
Well, he broke his leg as well, so he wasn't the same guy after that. And it's becoming, it's coming to the point with Brad. We've had it with Brad Holmes. Within Brad Holmes, we trust. But should we start doing that with Trajan Langdon? I mean, look at a guy like Dennis Jenkins. I mean, come on, the guy was a two-way guy before the season, and he's been playing unbelievable.
Well, here's why I would say not yet, because still a lot of the core that's built was. I think he's done a much better job than Troy Weaver did of supplementing and building around the roster.
Right.
But a lot of these guys are still drafted by Weaver. He hasn't had to do the really big lift. Like, what I want to see from Langdon is what happens if this team, like, they really badly want the Knicks, but I can see them not even getting the opportunity to play the Knicks. Say they lose to Cleveland in the second round, or I don't know where the seeding's going to break down, but say they lose to Cleveland and, it's a competitive series, but it's like, man, Cleveland's just got a little more there. And you're like, they're going to need one more piece to win these 7-game series. I want to see what he does when it becomes, if it becomes, I should say, evident that they need to do something else.
But a lot of GMs would have maybe come in and saw what was there and maybe tried to add too much. But I think he realized this team is trending in the right direction, number one in the East, and looking like a formidable, like an NBA championship caliber team. Why do you have to tweak so much?
Don't sell them short. We did this with the Lions a few years ago when they lost to the 49ers. I don't think any of us thought that was yet going to be a Super Bowl team. We thought, boy, this is the beginning of something, and we were
because
stunned.
Dan Campbell comes out and goes, that was our only shot, boys.
And then it wound up being.
I hate the worst thing he's ever said. It's like, come on, Dan, just lie to me.
So, but this will be fun because it does feel. I don't want to say house money. That's not true. Like
no, but I know what you're saying. You're right with saying that, though. It is because they're on the come up, and you know that the only better things are going to happen. So this is kind of a little extra gravy on whatever analogy I can't think of right now.
There's no angst with it. Obviously they lose in the first round, they get upset. That would be frustrating. But I
don't want to lose to Cleveland either.
Right. If they make a run, if they haven't won a playoff series, since you and I were born at this point, and it's not quite true. But if they can, if they can make a run, if they win 2 playoff series and then they get beaten in conference finals. That's not going to be something where people all of a sudden look down at the future of the Pistons. It may mean they need to do something. They need to add to the roster and take a hard look at certain things because you don't have, a forever window, as we've learned from the Lions. Speaking of that, let's talk a little Lions.
Can we just real quick on the MVP race with Cade Cunningham real quick? Will this rule be the first thing that's changed in the offseason, though? If Cade wins it and those guys, the top guys,
don't play enough games.
Don't play enough
game
games,
rule,
right? Because I like the 65-game rule, but a lot of these guys, will it change the mentality of some of these guys if they don't end up getting the MVP and some of the honors? Because that's a lot of money right there giving up.
Well, and it's not just the finances, which is a big part of it too, but it's the who is the first team All NBA, second team All NBA ought to be reflective, of who the best players on the NBA. Historically, you ought to be able to look back at that and say these guys were first team All NBA. You're going to look years from now and you go, well, he wasn't a first-team All-NBA player, and you're not going to know that, well, he just missed 17 games or 19 games or whatever it is. I would like to see something that was sort of a combination of the two. I don't think it's as much about the games missed. I think it's about the reason games are missed and about the amount of stints you take off. So for me, I would do something like a minimum of 50 games you have to play. That seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
If you're under 50, if you're in the 40s, okay, what are we really doing here? But then it's the amount of times, like one of those, and it's under 60 or under 65 beyond one extended injury. So, for example, if you miss 20 games with a legitimate injury early in the season, that shouldn't be something.
Well, what do you consider legitimate injuries?
Well, but it's 20 in a row. What I mean
is,
so
Anthony Davis could never win anything ever.
Well, correct. But what I mean is, you can't just. It can't just be you take a day off here, you take a day off there. You got to miss. If you miss substantive time in a row and then come back and play a lot, that shouldn't. If you miss 15, say you miss 17 games out of the gate, nobody's playing all of the rest of the games. You should be able to come back and play and miss 5 to 7 more games and still be in the conversation. So I think how you miss those games should be something that's baked into the rules. Should be like a 50 cutoff with.
But who figures that out? Who takes the injuries down and goes, what did they miss that game for?
Well, it doesn't have to be what before. It can be number of games in a row. Like one long stint doesn't count against you beyond, there are ways to do it. It's not hard. It just takes somebody sitting down and saying this is what.
It's hard when in the NBA where these guys are soft as tits and you can't even, they miss games for
But two guys who don't sit out, the reason this year it's a big deal is two guys who don't sit out are Jokic in Denver and SGA in Oklahoma City. And these have been the last, the kind of the prevailing MVPs the last few years. And both of these guys may miss out for that reason. And these guys are sort of examples of guys who do everything correct. The Joker plays. I mean, I remember when the Pistons were total crap and they were on a back-to-back in Detroit. And you think, well, there'd be a good night for him to be off. Nope, he was out there. You know what I mean? He is.
Jokic would be bored on the bench. He'd just be thinking about his horses or something. So I can understand Jokic. But the rest of these guys, it's like, if you have a track record of playing a certain amount of games in your career, you can take that into account. I just think they have to get rid of some of these load management things first. But if Cade ends up winning this, I mean, and it's not like he didn't deserve the MVP if he ends up winning this, right? But Wemby's going to be out of it as well. He might miss a certain amount of games, but I just think this rule is going to be the first thing that changes.
They're gonna change it.
It's affecting guys' money, and I don't know. But see, the thing is, Graham, I don't know if these guys care about legacy. Do you care about being a 4-time MVP regular season guy?
I think
those guys
some
care?
of them do. I think some of them do.
Some,
yeah,
but a majority, I don't know.
If you're in the MVP conversation, I think it matters to the guys who are in that conversation.
For Cade right now, but SGA won one. Joker, he won.
I think SGA wants it as well. You want to be multiple MVP. Jokic, Jokic, I don't know. Because, again, the horses, who knows? There's no doubt that this isn't his passion.
He's like, do I have to make a speech? I don't want the award.
I got to stay in Denver for the parade after the championship?
That dude was all of us, though. He's like, I got to talk to you guys after. I just want to go. Yeah. I want to drink a beer and get on a plane and go see my horses. I'm like, I understand that, But anyway.
All right, let's talk some Lions here. There's some.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
Oh, man, the season's so close.
So far.
Start of the year, September. What month is this? Fuck.
See,
February went fast though.
There's so much ahead that I'm glad it's
draft. We got the draft coming up.
So the big things of news are that the Lions are playing a game in Germany, which everybody's going to be playing these overseas games and whatever.
Michigan fan Jordan and his wife Sam are going. They asked us if T and I, but that's just too expensive. I have no ambition to go to Germany. Munich, what the fuck would I do there?
You were like, I cannot miss a Hot Take Monday show by being in Munich for a Lions.
That was it. Yes, I was like, dude, sorry, I can't take the equipment that far. We have done live remotes in different various places, but not in Munich, Germany. I don't know. We all knew. I mean, it was coming with Amon Rob. His mom being from there or whatever. It was just kind of, and the Lions have not played in one since 2015 or something like that. Is that right? Or they've been one of the longest teams.
Yeah, it's been kind of nice because I hate that stuff. It's like it's the early game. First of all, it's hard to gamble on. You forget it's happening. For me, it goes up against Premier League soccer or my Sunday basketball game.
And you lose a home game.
Yeah, you lose a home game. Yeah, no, it's not helpful. Now, what will be helpful is the Lions' schedule is no longer a first place schedule. Like their schedule is going to be easier this year than it was last year, and for the Bears that'll flip, and that stuff makes a difference. I think you'd rather, if you're the Lions, play the game in Munich and have the schedule they're going to have this year than have the first place schedule they had a year ago. The other news is it looks like Taylor Decker's coming back. Apparently his arm is not falling off. Apparently he doesn't want to spend as much time with his family.
I don't know. I still have PTSD from Ragnow. I'm not going to celebrate because I did see that news yesterday, but I sit there, and the Lions tweet out their shit. But if I sit there and we get excited, I mean, should we be excited? I don't even know. Is he going to be healthy for the...
Well, here's the thing. You don't know if he's going to be healthy.
He might fail a physical in about 4 months, and then it's like, oh, yeah, Taylor Decker out forever.
Well, you don't know if he's healthy. You don't know. Also, I would be
currently he's not. There's no way after that season.
And I'd be very surprised if he plays more than 1 year. So you should be prepping for his departure anyway. You should be drafting young guys. Now, maybe the difference is, do you draft a guy who's ready to go now, or do you draft a second-round guy? But you need help on the offensive line. I don't think it changes your draft. I think it's just a bonus because if he winds up being healthy, if he winds up being a guy who's a veteran who's good on the offensive line, that's just good. You're going to have injuries there anyway. To me, it does not change your draft one bit that Taylor Decker may give you one more year. That is just a bonus.
Right, but when you're trying to restructure your cap, and then Decker would have been a big piece of that if you ended up releasing him. I'm not disappointed he's coming back because I agree with you. I think it's a stopgap thing where if he can give us one more solid year, if we can get somebody in there, but I don't know. It's just tough to get excited about. Like I said, with I don't know.
Brad Holmes did say that they're restructuring Goff and St. Brown and. So that everybody and Penei Sewell, everybody's getting.
You guys will get your money on the back end.
Yeah, that's
give you all Bobby Bonilla deals,
and that's fine.
We'll give you a Rod Woods contract since he's retiring.
That's fine. The thing is, if they win a Super Bowl, and there is a year where it comes home to roost, like the Eagles are doing something right now, where the Eagles are going to have a year in a few years where it just hits them hard, and they're going to have to rebuild entirely. And that's the Lions have not really done that yet, but the way they've taken on contracts. But if that's what has to happen to win a Super Bowl, if the Lions were in the Eagles spot where they had won multiple Super Bowls in the last half decade, our conversations here would be totally different. Everybody would be okay with this is the year the cap's going to come to bite them and they're going to have to
Well, maybe if our GM wanted to get some balls and maybe pursue some people during the season or before the season to kind of help us with that Super Bowl before I die. Because I'm like Izzo with the Lions. I'm just Super Bowl or die trying. And I just don't know if Brad Holmes is doing that because, again, he spoke, and he was talking about the narratives about he's not being aggressive and he's going to make necessary moves without making a splash. So it's just, it's just a frustrating time to be a Lions fan, especially coming off of that season last year. It's like, come on, let's make some moves, man. Let's just make a good run. Let's get deep, and let's just, I don't know. Obviously, we have the injury problem. We're going to blame injuries, but,
You can't just run it back entirely. It'll be a very interesting spring and draft, and, you lose their defensive backfield now at safe. You lose 2 safeties, potentially, that's a concern. There's a lot of, I don't know. There's a lot to.
And Laporta, do you end up paying Laporta? There's
right.
A lot of,
Right. No, it's an interesting offseason.
Thank God there's only 9 more months until the season starts.
We just talk about it all the time. Before we go, a couple things. One, we're planning to do a Friday show post the Michigan State Purdue game. I will be, as we mentioned earlier, driving back from Purdue. So it'll be a Twitter question show. It may not be the full show. So in other words, it may be, I know Dominic gets pissed off when this happens, but it may be like you get one question, that we're going to do. You can submit more. We'll just choose them. But you may get one question for and to make that part of the show as we react to the Purdue game on Friday. And then
what a tease.
Sorry.
We're going to have a show on Friday. We don't know. It might be a half hour. It might be 12 minutes.
No, it'll be long enough, but it may not be our full 2 hour of Twitter questions, of Groovy Donut Twitter questions that we often do. The other thing I wanted to get is you have golf. Norm has golf bets.
Oh yeah,
and I think we should give those out to people here. Those who don't follow the socials.
How dare you not follow on the socials on X? Yes, Norm's Cognizant Classic Bets down there in Florida. It's going to be a fun 4-day event. No Scotty Scheffler. You don't have to worry about Scotty Scheffler this week at all. 3-pick parlay. This is plus 1,200. 3 picks. Austin Smotherman. Guy puts well. Top 40. Steven Yeager. Top 40. Young Blades Brown. Top 40. Those 3 guys plus 1,200 just to finish in the top 40. 2-pick parlay. This is kind of weird. This is kind of going out. This is gambling. This is sprinkling a little bit. And when we talk about sprinkling, it's, whatever a unit is, if your unit is $10 per bet or 15 or 20, this is like maybe $2 or $5 bet right here because it's plus 4,000, 40 to 1. 2-pick parlay. Adrian Dumont de Chassard. I know it's a tough name to say, but this is the first round. We're going to go first round. These guys are teeing off earlier. First round top 10. Adrian Dumont de Chassard. Nikolai Højgaard. First round top 10. Those 2 guys, 40 to 1. It's a little bit of a long shot. And then, speaking of long shots, we're going to do outright winners. And last year I didn't do those, but I like to sprinkle on these. Throw $5 on these guys. Hope you get some value out of them. David Ford, 150 to 1. The young guy from North Carolina, lefty. David Ford, 150 to 1 to win this tournament. Austin Smotherman, plus 145. So it's 145. It's It's 145 to 1. Austin Smotherman and Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, plus 3,700. So that's 37 to 1. And Hoi Tong Lee, I love Hoi Tong, plus 4,700 for 47 to 1 on him. Those names are really hard to pronounce, especially when you're doing them all in a row, so I apologize. But anyway, those are Norm's golf bets. He's been crushing a lot of tape.
Norm's been great. Yeah, Norm's been doing well, though. All right.
Crushing a double heater on the Twitter there. So if you don't follow, those are the bets for the PGA.
Yeah, no, it's well, we've been getting text from Harry today too, by the way. So although this match is starting Norwich City,
he's going deep on some Patriot League fucking college hoops. I'm going like, does he even?
He did hit last night. He sent me Iowa State Iowa State at Utah. And Iowa State was minus 13.5 on the road, and I was like, "Thanks, Harry. I'll tell you," but I was too chicken to do it.
Is Harry actually watching these games though?
And then
talking about Navy.
They covered. He was right. I was just too nervous. 13.5 points on the road, which felt like a big number, and I didn't.
It is huge. Yeah,
I didn't want to do it, and I wish I had. Instead, I stuck it in a teaser that I lost. So that's
Loyola Navy. He was pitching, and I'm like, dude, that is deep. That's a grinder level.
Very much so. He has been hot, though, on BigAl.com. If you want to follow there, if you're looking for a good way to find picks, he's been terrific there. So definitely worth checking out. We will be back on Friday with your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Already got one in already. Tony Daggett, Michigan fan, wanting discussion on the U of M plane crash special that I so eloquently pushed under the rug is no big deal.
Oh, you're still taking shit for that?
Oh, from Tony and maybe 2 other people. Yeah. Anyway, we will get into that and every other. Oh, not every other, but as I said, at least one Twitter question each of you have on our Friday Groovy Donut Twitter question show. We appreciate Front 43 and Cask and Company, the OG of Couch in the Roof sponsors. Never steered anybody wrong there. I know it's a go-to place for a lot of people who like this show, and it's always my recommendation for people. Caskandcompany.com if you want to make a reservation. We'll be back Friday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.